Hey, what's up, guys? This is the video for our Tuesday assignment. Okay, so this portion is considered the synchronous portion of the learning, right? So this would be the time where this presentation could be done face-to-face with you live, but I would prefer to have the video more condensed for you so that you can just get the information you need when you need to go back through it, as opposed to having to kind of skip through all the discussion from other students. So as you're working on this, if you have questions, if you have issues, shoot me a message. Post on Teams, just comment right on this video, or comment right into the message center on Teams, and I'll respond to you. Okay, so this PowerPoint is going to be about the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Okay, so let's just kind of review photosynthesis. This is a chemical reaction that's happening in plants. Okay, so this happens in every single plant. It happens in algae. It happens in some phytoplankton that are in the ocean. But this is done by anything that creates its own food. So when we think about that, plants don't eat, right? Plants just grow. We give them water, they get sunlight, and they grow. So photosynthesis is that process, and this is the most important process for life on Earth, because if we were not able to turn the sun's energy into energy that can be used on Earth for life, then life would not have existed. So what do plants need for photosynthesis? They need water, they need carbon dioxide, they need light, and then it says they need the chlorophyll, and that is the green portion of plants that we're going to talk about. This is where photosynthesis happens in plants. Here's the equation for photosynthesis, right? So we have carbon dioxide plus water, and then we add the energy of the light from the sun, and we make glucose, which is the sugar that plants need to grow, and oxygen. The process of changing light to chemical energy is exactly what photosynthesis is. That energy gets stored as a sugar. This happens, like I said, in all plants. Some algae, we have phytoplankton, and this happens within the chlorophyll of the plants. That's where the plants are green. So what's it like in there? It kind of looks like a bunch of stacks of pancakes. Okay, so we look right here. This is a chloroplast, really blown up, and we see these stacks of pancakes. Those are called thylakoids, and that is where photosynthesis takes place. So if we think about plants, most plants have green somewhere on them at some point in the year, and this is where the photosynthesis is taking place. This is going to get into some detail. I didn't cut these slides out because I want those of you guys that are really interested in wanting to know the details to be able to kind of go through and stop and look at this. But photosynthesis is broken into two cycles. Okay, so if we think about it, we have light and we have dark during a normal 24-hour cycle on Earth, right? So plants are only getting sunlight from anywhere from like 8 to 14 hours a day, depending on the time of year. Also, that depends where on Earth they are. But during the day, plants are taking water and light, and they're using that to produce ADP and NADP or NADPH. The ATP technically doesn't happen yet, and then their waste product from this process is oxygen. Okay, so during the day we're taking water and sunlight. Plants are basically farting out oxygen, getting rid of that, and they're producing NADPH. That's the building block for the energy. Okay, and then they use that building block for the energy, and during the nighttime they take the CO2 out of the air. They use that NADPH, they use that ATP, and they are able to continue this cycle at nighttime, and their waste product is that sugar, right? That sugar they store that sugar, that's what they use to grow, right? But it's kind of cool because that sugar gets stored in the plant, right? So if you've ever enjoyed yourself any sort of yummy fruit, it tastes sweet, right? That's that sugar, that's that fructose being stored in the plant. So the plants are taking in the sun, the water, carbon dioxide, and they're making oxygen and they're making sugar. Okay? That's very important because oxygen and sugar is what plants need, or is what animals need to survive, right? So what plants are getting rid of, or what they're making, oxygen and sugar, is what animals actually need to survive. So think about this. The plants are taking the sun's energy, they're making it into a food source that animals can then eat. right? So if we didn't have plants anywhere, we would, for one, not have a new source of oxygen, and there would never be that original sugar source that's being made from the sunlight, right? So that original sugar source could be grass, it could be any plants, it could be berries, it could be fruits, it could be vegetables. But those are things that smaller animals will eat, bigger animals will eat, humans will eat. The bigger animals eat the smaller animals, so on and so forth. So this cycle kind of balances itself out, and that's what we're going to be looking at later on in this PowerPoint. Again, this is a little bit more in depth than what we need. If you're someone that's really ready to kind of look at the details of this, you're welcome to kind of go through and do some extra research. But for us, our main idea is that photosynthesis is taking sunlight, CO2, and water, and we're using that to make oxygen and sugar. Okay? So what are the products? Just like we said, the sugar and oxygen. It says food right there. That's food that us humans, other animals, are going to be able to eat to continue to live. So why is photosynthesis important to us as humans? Well, kind of like what we were just saying, we can't make our own food, right? If I just... Sorry, we just had an announcement, so I paused the video. I was saying, so as humans and as other animals, we can't make our own food, right? So like if you took me and you just laid me out in the dirt and you poured water on me and let the sunlight hit me and you just waited for 3 weeks and that's all you did, I would die, right? Because I wouldn't have any food. I wouldn't be making any energy in my body. But with a plant, you put it out in the dirt, you give it some water and some sunlight and it grows, right? So plants are this first step in the food chain for everything on Earth. Right? Those plants and those phytoplankton, those things that use the sun to make their own sugars. That oxygen that they release as a waste product is what all these other living things breathe. So not only do plants make the first step in the food cycle or the food chain, but they also release the oxygen that all of these other living things need to be able to survive. So then let's take a look. What is cellular respiration? Oops. So this is the exact opposite. This is what's happening in animals. So once that energy in the sunlight becomes a sugar, right, an organism has to transfer the chemical energy into a form that can be used by the organism. So we've got this sugar in a plant, right? Something comes up and eats that plant. Well, we have to be able to turn that sugar into energy for us, right? Because we can't just suck energy from the sun. We need to eat that sugar and turn that into energy. So we might think, okay, well, you just eat and it makes you full, it gives you energy. Okay, but how? How does eating a sandwich actually give all of your cells the energy that we need to survive? How does breathing oxygen help give all those cells the energy that we need to survive? And that's what we're going to look at. So cellular respiration is the breakdown of glucose to release energy. Okay, so that would be taking the food that you eat, the oxygen we breathe, and turning that to make energy. This happens just like how photosynthesis happens in the chloroplasts, in the chlorophyll, and those stacks, right? This happens in mitochondria in humans, and those are in every single one of our cells. So every single cell in your eyeball, your skin, your heart, your lungs, everything. These mitochondria are where this is taking place. That's what a mitochondria looks like blown up. Okay, so if we look at this, what is the chemical equation for cellular respiration? Well, this should look really familiar because this says glucose plus oxygen, which is sugar plus oxygen, makes carbon dioxide and water. Well, hold on. Didn't we say that photosynthesis was water, carbon dioxide, and sun would make oxygen and glucose? So this is really just backwards. It's kind of like the video we watched from last week where we said, wouldn't it be cool if the waste product from your car could be used to fuel your motorcycle, and the waste product from your motorcycle could be used to fuel your car. They would keep going back and forth. Well, that's what happens with plants and animals. The waste product from plants is the reactants for animals. So what plants get rid of is what animals need to survive. And what animals get rid of are what plants need to survive, right? So plants need water and carbon dioxide. They make oxygen and sugar. Animals need oxygen and sugar. They make carbon dioxide and water. These two things balance each other out. Okay, so this is another real big diagram. Again, this is just those people that really want to look a little bit further. Okay, Again, this is just another deeper look. This is saying if we don't have oxygen, it's a little bit different. So let's say you're going for, like, you're sprinting, right? So you don't have a lot of oxygen going into your body. What's actually happening? There's some different waste products that will happen with that. But this main idea is this picture right here. And let's look at what this is showing. We have a cow and we have a tree. Okay? So if we look up here, within this tree, we have photosynthesis taking place, right? Within all this grass, these flowers, photosynthesis is taking place. The waste product is that oxygen and is the sugars that are in the plants. So if we look at it, this cow is breathing in the oxygen that the tree is releasing, and it's eating the sugars in the grass that were made from photosynthesis, right? Well, that cow in turn is releasing carbon dioxide when it breathes out, right? It's releasing that carbon dioxide, it's releasing water products, and that is what in turn that plant will use to survive, right? So that's a pretty wild thing to think of. The tree makes what the animal needs, the animal makes what the tree needs, right? The cow needs oxygen and sugar, well, it gets that from the plants. The plant needs water and carbon dioxide, well, it gets that from the animals, right? You might think, well, how does it get water? Water's coming from other places too, right? But I mean, there's water within the animals. They have, their waste products. But then in addition, when an animal dies, breaks down, those water molecules will also go into the soil that way. So these two processes are a balance of each other, okay? And that's what allows the world to continue living, right? We have plants that keep humans alive and animals alive. We have humans and animals that keep plants alive. Right? So that's why we're saying, when we have to save the rainforest, things like that, there is a lot of truth to that, right? If we don't have plants, then we don't have the things that we're going to need to survive. Okay, so we're going to just kind of skip through this. This gets a little bit more in depth again. Okay, and then this is these are the complementary processes. It's that cycle, right? So photosynthesis is an important part of the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle would be this idea of carbon in nature. We're thinking about this as photosynthesis and cellular respiration, but this is basically how life continues on, right? The processes of photosynthesis and cellular respiration are complementary. They work together, they keep everything alive. So, a couple words to think of. Autotrophs. Auto is like self, right? Like automatic, it happens on its own. An autotroph is something that can feed itself. And when we think about that, we're talking about plants, right? They take the sunlight, they take water, and they make their own food, right? Heterotrophs are what eats other things, right? So heterotrophs can't make their own food. Hetero means different, right? So they need something else to make their food. Little summary, kind of what we've already talked about. Okay, now we're going to get to your assignment. All right, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to create a diagram that represents the relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration. This is the carbon cycle. Okay, so we're looking at the carbon cycle right here. Your diagram must include at least one autotroph and one heterotroph. All that means is you need one plant and one animal. You can draw more if you want, but you don't need to. Okay, I need you to illustrate and label the processes. So the stages, right? So I need to know where photosynthesis is happening, where cellular respiration is happening, and I need to see what is going into the plants and what is going into the animals, right? So this should create kind of a circular picture, sort of like we had here, right? You don't need to copy this exactly, but this is the idea that we're going for, right? This is the carbon cycle, okay? We have oxygen and sugars going into the animals, right? All that sugar has a ton of carbon in it, and then that animal releases that carbon dioxide back out, right? The plant takes up that carbon dioxide using those carbons to make sugars. So when we're looking at this as photosynthesis and cellular respiration, we're really looking at how carbon goes back and forth between plants and animals throughout our entire world, right? Carbon from the sugar in plants goes into animals. Carbon from the carbon dioxide released by animals goes back into the plants. This is how it works. All right, guys, this is your assignment. This is the end of the video. Remember, I'm here if you need me. I will be available the entire class, the entire day. It's not just these first 15 minutes. All right, good luck. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.